Here's some food for thought about Ghanaians and their nutrition. Empowering Good Governance magazine and UNIDPM, an NGO, deem it past due to talk about the iron deficiency of Ghanaians, especially amongst adolescent girls. We are going to posit some dietary dynamics which we trust will graduate to a hypothesis which will be ripe for study, for action by this video's ending. Let's start by featuring an anecdotal morsel which we fished out. In a school tucked away in the eastern region of Ghana, a girl is sent to the hospital because of yet another bout with anemia. One of the school's house mistresses organizes a dozen schoolgirls to donate blood towards her treatment, and each and every one of them is rejected as a donor owing to their very own iron deficiency. Given this matter at hand, a couple of boys are recruited to successfully donate the blood which the anemic girl needed, and for which her female peers were unable to supply. Ghanaians are inebriated with carbohydrates and parched of iron-rich foods. One may argue that Ghanaians are literally passively aggressively drunk with fermented carbohydrates like cocoa, kenke, and banku. Cocoa is a corn or spiced millet porridge. Kenke is a spherical or cylindrical mound of partially cooked and then steamed fermented corn, with each being wrapped with corn husks, and banana or plantain leaves respectively. And banku is a combination of corn and cassava dough prepared into a spherical or conical mound. On the other hand, iron-rich foods like green leaves, sweet potatoes, legumes, for example granuts and soya or green beans, as well as other dietary riches like non-dried fish, plus other seafoods, as well as liver, pale in volume when compared to carbohydrates consumption by Ghanaians. Empowering Good Governance magazine and UNIDPM, an NGO, argue that not only are culinary choices for Ghanaians needlessly sparse, alternative dietary riches do indeed abound. For present purposes, we will home in on a select few, some of which are obvious to the bellies of Ghanaians, whereas others are unfathomable to their palates. Empowering Good Governance magazine and UNIDPM are going so far as to propose a policy paradigm, which should graduate to a policy imperative by this video's ending, especially for adolescents, and most especially for adolescent females. Take the venerable cassava plant which Ghanaians already enjoy in the form of, for example, fufu and gari. The leaves of this plant are derided as being goat food, though its leaves may be a good source of iron in one's diet. The same sort of derision will be applied to the leaves of the sweet potato by all too many a Ghanaian. And similarly derided are some of the more healthy and lesser known dishes of the country, most particularly those which hail from northern Ghana. The selection of dishes which Ghanaians eat, especially in order that they may increase their iron intakes, needs to be explored and expanded, and the best place to introduce and sustain new and improved lifelong dietary habits amongst Ghanaians, we assert, is during their adolescent years. This idea of adolescence combined with a quote-unquote captive audience setting like a boarding school or even a day school cafeteria will optimally allow for the introduction of new, unfamiliar yet healthy dishes to Ghanaians. For example, cassava leaf or potato green stew, and northern Ghanaian dishes like fish bra leaf stew. The leaves of the cassava or the sweet potato will therefore not be needlessly discarded. Imagine a value chain scenario whereby a cassava or sweet potato farmer may supply fresh leaves to a boarding school in his or her district, whereby a school cafeteria matron is trained in cooking these leaves and all other dishes palatably, whereby the schoolgirls and boys who partake of these foods retain an appetite for them into adulthood. Let us say they even get their family members to gain an interest in and an appetite for iron-rich foods like cassava leaf or potato greens. So now let's revisit the case of the anemic schoolgirl. Reportedly, her unwillingness to eat an ill-prepared meal, her willful ignorance about and obstinance to dietary alternatives, her inability to not bow to peer pressure, whereby she and her peers, particularly the females, feign a predilection for the finer things in life, may be cited as some of the causes of her deficient dietary life. Here is a suggested policy roadmap, a solution, a destination to addressing these green matters being absent from this red issue. Let us name it the Green and Red Campaign, shall we? The goals of the Green and Red Campaign may be cited as follows. To improve the iron intake of adolescents, especially girls, during the tenure of their boarding school years via a nutrition and diet regimen. To educate girls and boys about their blood's lifelong healthiness, and in effect get them to adopt dietary improvements through nutritional behavioral change programming. To boost critical thinking and self-esteem about peer pressure and its connection to malnutrition. To create a market opportunity for farmers when prior remnants of their produce will go from being wastage to being a marketable produce. To rescue students from the tyranny of bad institutional food by training matrons and canteen proprietors in school communities in the preparation of iron-rich and other fortifiable dishes that help realize improved blood health and retard the prevalence of anemia. And to increase the volume of blood donations in all participating school communities. Empowering Good Governance magazine and UNIDPM, an NGO, hypothesized that the nutritional habits of especially female adolescent students may be remarkably improved by getting them to learn, appreciate, and adopt better meals that count towards improved blood healthiness, within and amongst them. Dietary counseling and the quantitative and qualitative value chain, which can be fashioned to reinforce hemoglobinous fortitude amongst present adolescents into future adults, will prove to be a prudent, possible, and prescient set of strategies and goals in school communities and beyond. We invite your interest, attention, and support to plan, implement, document, and reflect on the Green and Red Campaign.